Welcome to Creative Conversations with Roger Humphrey, the fine arts podcast where I get to talk with composers, performers, authors, visual artists, filmmakers, and others in the arts. Before we begin, please hit the like, follow, or subscribe buttons. It's a very easy thing to do, and it goes a long way towards supporting the channel, and it really does help a lot. Hey, if you or someone you love plays guitar or ukulele, please consider visiting my website at www.rogerhumphrey.com and looking at the many things I have to offer. Much of it's for free. If you like what you see, please take a moment to subscribe. I promise I won't send you any spam, just occasional updates. And we are welcoming to the show the award-winning composer Peter Manning Robinson and filmmaker Klaus Hoch. Hey guys, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Wow. So you have a new film out. You guys work as a team for the most part, right? Do you ever work apart?
Do we what?
Do you work separately, or is pretty much everything together?
A lot of it is mostly together.
Okay.
Especially all the music stuff that we've been doing, and now we're moving into a feature film, and we're working on that together.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty exciting.
Low budget feature film, but still a feature film.
Well, a budget's a budget.
Yeah. Actually, a long time ago, I made my first feature film, and Peter was the composer on it. That's how we met. We sort of bonded over music. He's a great composer, great musician. And then we collaborated on some of the newer stuff in terms of the music. And so we've been working together for the last dozen years.
Wow. So, the newest film that I saw was called Bent Out of Shape. Does that sound, did I get that right?
Yes. Those are music films.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the correction.
No, when you say film, I always think of film, because we're doing one of those now.
Okay, so you're doing a film now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the ones that I saw were short, 5 to 7 minutes ish music films where you're telling a story without dialogue.
Yes, it's stories set to Peter's music.
Right.
He writes the music. I sort of look at it and interpret, and I come up with a story, and that's sort of it.
Okay.
And I have
Well, I was going to ask
some
which.
of them, and some of them he's not in them.
Well, I was going to ask which came first, the chicken or the egg. I didn't know if the music came first or if the visuals came first. I didn't know how that works. So, in other films, as opposed to these music videos, in other films. Do you come up with a film idea, and then Peter, do you come in with some music to back it?
Typically for the ones we've been doing up until the project we're about to start, it's triggered by my music.
Okay.
So what we're working on, I'm finishing an album now of solo piano music called Excursions. So typically what I'll do is I will give Klaus 3 or 4 new compositions, and he'll listen to them and decide which one resonates with him. And then he'll come up with a storyboard, and we get together and we kind of tweak it a little bit. And but not much. I mean, typically what happens is that when it's the music, I'm flying the plane. When it's the video, Klaus is flying the plane. And over the last while, we've learned how to collaborate in a way that 2 very strong-willed people are able to combine our ideas without stepping on each other's feet or tongues or anything else.
and you're able to avoid homicide, things like that. So
we're the worst that ever gets is like it's 2 pit bulls for about 5 minutes. It's like boom, done, move on.
So What are you looking for, Klaus, when you're looking at putting together some music? Are you just kind of looking, is it kind of looking for more of a spiritual inspiration of whatever kind of moves you, or are you looking for something more specific than that?
Well, in terms of the music, I listen to the pieces Peter's created, and some of them hallucinate a story or I get a vibe or feeling,
Uh-huh.
and then I sort of interpret that with a story. And Peter's let me name quite a few of the pieces,
Oh,
and they just have sort of like this vibe. Like one of them is called uh, Pure Heartbreak,
right.
and when I listened to the music, it was just like that's what I felt. That's what I could see, and then I just put it together a story, and and that's sort of the inspirations. And there are a ton of them. We've done stuff with Pele Dreaming, which is sort of like with the volcanoes in
Uh-huh.
Hawaii. And we've just done a ton of stuff, and it's the inspiration from the music that triggers my visual cinematic you know hallucinations or
So,
stories.
so Peter, have you ever watched or gone through the process and looked at some of it and go, wow, I didn't see that coming in my own music, that kind of thing?
Oh, all the time. And one of the things that Klaus mentioned that I think is really important is that rarely, even if I have a title in mind, I don't give him the title
Oh,
because what I've always said that what I see in the music has nothing to do with what the interpreter or the listener sees. And if I say to Klaus, this is what the piece is about, that is going to put him in a pocket, and I don't like that. In fact, Pure Heartbreak is a great example of that because that piece was written
it's a
during.
lovely piece of music, by the way. I love that
Oh,
piece.
thank you very much. Uh, it was written as a response to a lot of things that were going on in the world. Uh, Gaza. I had been evacuated from the fires in LA, and just so many horrible things that were happening in the world. And I was very, very sad. And I was also dealing with my dog who was very sick. And when Klaus heard it, he didn't hear it as that at all. He heard it as a breakup and betrayal with two people. And so by personalizing it, he made it a lot more powerful, you know?
Gotcha.
Uh, and
And by the
the,
way, we have one coming up in September or October when we release Excursions, the album, which is called Pure Zebra, and it's a follow-up on
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I'll definitely be looking for that one then.
yeah,
yeah.
Pure Zebra.
we try to. I don't think we try. We're very good at allowing the other person to create in the clearest possible way in terms of a direct line to creativity, so that he might say to me, "Hey, I got an idea for a piece,"
Oh, okay.
and then he'll give me a very general thing. But he'll never say to me, "Okay, I think we should blah 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 blah. I think we really need to do that." It's like no, he'll give me an emotion, or he'll give me just sort of a feeling. Uh, if I have an idea for part of his video, I might say, "Hey, take a look at this section. Maybe we could do this," but we just stay out of each other's way.
The work is lovely. I've watched several of those videos, the shorts, and listened to the music, and specifically in preparation for this, and I was just really drawn in. Very unique stuff. Where does it show? How do people find it? Excuse me.
So right now, you go to my YouTube channel, you go to my social media. All of the videos are there. I'm doing pretty well in that world. I'm like between 800 and a million views a week, so people are paying attention,
That's
uh,
awesome.
and I'm able to do it without sort of the establishment who's going to say, well, we don't know what this is. As you said, Roger, it's unique. Klaus's videos are unique. My music is unique. It doesn't fit into a genre. We're really proud of that.
Very important for us to stay true and original to whatever we can do, you know? And sometimes like people go, well, some of the music, some of it, not the acoustic stuff, but the refractor stuff is sort of hybrid. What genre is it in? What genre it isn't,
Right.
And we persevered. Peter's persevered. And that's really important, not to, have to try to conform it or put it into a box to make it so palatable that it becomes something else.
There's a wonderful video on YouTube of Frank Zappa talking about the old days in the recording industry.
Mm-hmm.
And he said back then, he said you'd have some old cigar chomping dude sitting behind a desk going, I don't know what it is. Let's just go ahead and record it and put it out there and see what happens. And he says, now you got these young hip dudes, and he says they're scared to move, and he says they won't record anything. So that whole sense of experimentation, I think, in the world of art it's not lost. But
he was in the advanced front of that, very much like in terms of having to destroy forms in order to progress to somewhere else. That was one of his big things, like how do you break it and then expand it, So.
Exactly. I had a guest, Jeffrey Deibel was on recently, and he's a classical saxophonist, and he specializes in contemporary music, specifically contemporary chamber music, and we've kind of he agreed with me that contemporary classical music is very different and almost a separate category from what he referred to as the museum music, and so I see that in your approach as well, that you guys got your stuff over here, we got ours right here, and we're just quite happy with where we're sitting at the moment. So
yeah, I mean, contemporary classical music, as you would call it, the actual contemporary stuff has a pretty small audience.
Right.
There's a tremendous amount of people out there producing stuff, but it's just somehow or another, it's been labeled or it's been put into certain things, so it's almost a lot of it comes out of academia and is sort of in that vibe. When we started doing concerts, we wanted to keep it sort of like in the art world. I look at Peter's music as art, and so our first concert was at Bergamot Station here in Santa Monica, which is a big art complex.
Okay.
The next one we did at MoCA, the Museum of Contemporary Art downtown. And that makes it. That's part of the thing that makes it really hard to do.
So when you're doing concerts, the visuals are as much a part of it as the music. It's still that full-on collaboration.
Yes, I sort of designed the visuals, and in the past, there was a woman named Hannah Kim. She's also a projectionist and production designer. And we worked together, and we did it at Bergamot Station in 3D with gauzes and all kinds of stuff. And then finally, the last two concerts we did, this is like right pre-COVID or around there, was at the Vortex Dome. And we created a 360 environment for all the visuals, Peter playing, which is wonderful stuff. Cool.
One thing that I've been dealing with, I've been playing since I was 3 years old. And I've always heard, you're a genius, but you're going to be famous after you're dead. I've heard this all my life. And
yep, the only good composer is a dead composer.
Right? There you go. That's right. And buy his art now while he's alive, because once he's dead, it's going to triple. But I fought this all of my life, whether I was playing with jazz people, contemporary classical people, it didn't matter. They say, we don't know what this is. We have no idea what you're doing. And now, because everything is algorithm based, it has been so difficult up until the last 6 months for us to get out there other than social media. And finally, we contacted a woman named Kashona Mail, who you're
Right.
aware of, right? And she said the very thing that everybody else would say is like, this is great, this is fantastic, but we don't know what it is, and it doesn't fit into an algorithm, so we can't do anything with it. Krishona said, this is great. I don't know what it is, but I love it and I want to make it happen.
There you
And
go.
all you need is that one person who believes in you in the same way as my social media person, Lucy LaForge at Make a Splash. She said the same thing. We don't know what this is. I don't know, but I love it. I want to make it happen. And screw these other people who are going to tell you. And that's how Klaus and I have worked forever. Uh, and that's how when we bring anybody else in, it's the same thing. If we have to hire a crew for the videos or for doing the concerts, we make sure that people are open, they like what we do, they want to be a part of it, and it just becomes a much more pleasant thing. And when you got somebody who believes in you, who can then take it to the next level, like what's been happening, all of a sudden we get, we're clicking. But we've been doing the same thing forever, you know.
I don't want to be gauche, but for the
Oh,
sake
please don't. No, Roger, you can't be gauche.
but for the sake of the people who, particularly the young people who want to get into this kind of a business, they want to do this kind of thing. I guess my question would be how do you finance it? How do the nuts and bolts work on this a little bit?
Well, all right. Let's just start with, you cannot stick your foot into the shallow end of the pool and expect that you're going to be an Olympic diver. Okay? You have, in my humble opinion, you either are possessed in a maniacal way that you have to do this, or don't mess around with it, you know? Now, it is true that with the advent of so many AI programs that says, well, you don't really have to know anything about film. You don't have to know anything about music. Here, press these buttons, put these prompts in, and you get something. I just stay away from that whole thing. But when anybody asks me, well, how do you make it happen? It's not important how you make it happen. What's important is you start with, I have to do this. I will sacrifice everything and anything to make this happen. And then the universe kind of goes, hey, you over here, I heard you. Let's see if that's true. Let's give you this, but then we're going to give you this. And somehow you find out, in my case, I mean, I was 3 years old. I saw a piano. I sat down at the piano. And I said, I've done this before. And I was already playing.
Wow.
And there was just never any doubt, this is my raison d'etre. This is my mission on the planet. And that's how I've always approached everything. You've got to have this inner sense that nothing will stop me.
Gotcha. Okay. So, does the YouTube videos, does that pay the bills? That put cornflakes in your bowl?
Do you know that after roughly 1 million views, between 800,000 and a million views a week, I'm getting almost $80 a month. It's almost there. Sometimes it gets up to 85, sometimes it drops to 75.
That's hilarious. And that kind of puts a spotlight on a lot of things. I tell people that if I were a 15-year-old girl giving makeup tips, I'd probably be able to make a living doing this. But
right.
That's funny.
Do not go into this. Well, let me back up. There's intent and then there's reality. Okay.
Right.
If your raison d'etre is to be a commercial musician in an area that is widely accepted and you know this genre, and you work very hard at doing that, you can monetize that, move through the ranks. It happens that what Klaus and I do is not that, you know?
Right.
And so I've been fortunate enough to do enough projects through film and television that I can pay the bills. And as long as I can pay the bills, I don't care about the rest of it,
Gotcha.
you know?
Yep. Well, I guess that was the question that I had. It's the same as me and what I do. I don't. If you do this for the money, you're in the wrong business. So you know, become a lawyer.
Right.
But so now, do either of you have a formal training in what you do?
Yeah. I went to graduate school at NYU for
Okay.
film. And I also did a bunch of I have a few degrees, I guess, in music too.
Okay.
So trained music, writing, film, all of that.
Yeah, I'm a guitar guy and I'm self-taught. I learned sitting at the edge of my bed, so
Yeah,
and hanging out with other musicians. So
as a guitarist, I'm pretty self-taught, though I did have a couple people who, a guitarist named Joe DiOrio.
yeah,
He was my teacher when I lived in Florida for a while.
okay.
And another guitarist, Derek Bailey. You ever heard
I
of
don't
him?
know that name. I'm sorry.
He's another avant-garde jazz guitarist.
Okay.
He has a record company called Incus. He used to come to New York. We would play, that stuff, and then you record. And I found that, again, like Peter was talking about, you have to totally commit to that. I'm always been a filmmaker, and I'm, a writer. And the guitar thing, no matter how much I love it, you have to commit to it 100%. For me, I can't do either or. So it sort of, went a little bit into the background. It's still with me.
Right.
But, so.
Thank you for that. So now, Peter, when you're writing your music, do you commit it to paper or anything like that, or is it something that you compose in your head and just sort of remember when the time comes to record? Because I've done both.
Typically, what I've been doing for the last while is it's sort of a Taoist approach, which says, let your mind go empty, let your heart go empty. Whatever comes in to fill it, that's where you start.
Okay.
So I have no idea what I'm going to play, what I'm going to compose before I do it.
Okay.
And I make sure that I'm always recording, and because the things that I think are, this is great, and you listen to it back the next day and go, this is horrible. And then, this is, God, I played horrible tonight. And you listen to it the next day and it's like, well, that's kind of interesting. And so I keep working through things that way. I never just sit down with pen and paper and say, here, this is what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Because I get in my own way. If I stay out of my head and I stay into my heart and my emotions, stuff happens. Klaus is great at listening to things that I've done and saying, well, that kind of sucks, doesn't it? And here's why I think it sucks. And sometimes he's right, and sometimes I agree, and sometimes I don't. But he always gets what the listener is going to react to. So I never, like for these videos, I never pick the pieces. I say, okay, here's 3 of them. And I let Klaus, and then sometimes we let Krishona or Lucy listen to it. and Klaus's partner, Leanne, is really good at that. And we see what the emotional kick is. Because if I'm left to my own devices, quite often what I'm going to do is pretty out there, and I will miss the kernel of emotion that Klaus immediately picks up on and says, this one.
Ah.
And so I might give him a 7-minute piece, and he'll say, hey, listen to these 4 bars. Really? Those 4 bars? Yeah, mess around with that. And, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. And so we kind of refine it that way.
Gotcha. Okay. Is it committed?
And also, Roger, when Peter does the refractor piano, he has a piece and he performs it. It's not exactly reproducible because it evolves as he plays. Right. So when we did the Vortex concerts with Hannah, or all the other concerts that involve refractor piano, the visuals also have to morph because the piece changes every time you play it. So that it would be really hard to write unless you just write, basically the core piece, but not the whole thing, because it's never the same.
That makes sense. Listening to the music, I know that the one piece, the Precipice, I listen to, I can't imagine trying to put that on paper.
Exactly. It changes every time. There's always the essence of a Precipice, but it always has a change to it. It also has a flow where it goes a little bit more in this direction, a little bit more in this direction. So, yes.
And my acoustic music is exactly the same. Like, no matter what piece I'm playing, you'll probably get the theme, you'll probably get something in the middle, and the essence of the piece is there, but it's always different. And the more this is why I very quickly moved out of the jazz world and the structures that were in jazz, even though I was playing with some fantastic giants who really taught me at a very early age. I was touring when I was 12.
Wow.
But they would throw trumpets at me. They'd slam the piano lids on my fingers. They'd get really upset, and they'd go, "White boy, what are you doing?" And it's like, hey, this is how I play. And fortunately, I've just kept that. But trying to play with jazz musicians or people who are used to accepted structures, it just doesn't work. And that's why the refractor piano, my invention, has just been so great, because I'm the only person who can play it when I can play it.
Well, let's explain what that is real quick, because I sort of have an idea, but I've got a funny feeling if I told you what my idea was, you'd just laugh at me and shake your head. So
we might laugh, but because we're enjoying it. I want to mention that Klaus has been a key part of the refractor piano. He named it. He came up with why it was called that. And so I'm going to start with that.
Okay.
In science, there's this principle called refraction.
Right.
Where you have, whether it's light or sound, there's a prism. So the light or sound passes through the prism. The original sound is still there, but going through the prism, it is now refracted or morphed in very, very different ways. So the refractor piano essentially is, here's my piano. I can do it on any acoustic piano. There are transducers or pickups that are attached to the piano. Then those go through a collection of hardware and software that we've developed that refract or morph the sound. I was very intent on not using synths, not using virtual instruments, not using editing, not using overdubbing, not using any pre-recorded tracks. So anything that you hear, other than me mixing it down to master it, is completely live, unedited.
Gotcha.
And this is because everybody else can do pre-recorded tracks. Everybody else can overdub. Everybody else can use synths. They can do everything like that. So when anybody jigs, I jag. And I've been like that all my life. The moment somebody starts catching up to what I'm about to do, I just move into something else. And
yeah, I'm
and
sorry, go ahead.
Klaus, sorry, one other thing, and Klaus has been so important. I mean, I had earlier versions of this that had a lot of my weird string instruments that were attached to the mixing and all of this. And he said, what if it was just the piano? And what if the footprint was so small that there was just this little rack and the piano, and that's it? And that's when we started developing this idea of by just using the piano. Stravinsky says, if you ever want to expand, limit. So the more we limited what was around for me to play, the more I could expand on what it is. So I never know what's going to come out. And it's like playing with a zillion me's, which is just sometimes I think I know what's going to happen. And then, whoops, where did that go? Okay, well, let's just keep going. And so it combines everything that I love. It's creative. There's improvisation. There's aleatoric aspects. There's crazy aspects. It can be beautiful, but it's not like anything else. And I'm really proud of it.
So, kind of avoiding the whole synth things, but so you don't see that as being able to find its way into what you're doing. You're really trying to keep all that, keep the door closed on that, or is that just for now?
I don't put limitations, even though I just said I put limitations. I try not to say I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to do that. I built some special synths using physical modeling and a couple of my custom breath controllers, and that might get in there. And in fact, the previous album we did, which is called Disturbances, was a collection of pieces that we did prior to the refractor piano that used a bunch of my weird instruments and breath controllers and all kinds of stuff. But right now, Dostoevsky says, the enemy of great is good.
And I agree.
And there is so much now that can be good. You don't have to know anything about music. With a modicum of chops, you can sit there at a computer and just crank out stuff that is good. And anybody can now play synth. Anybody can use an AI program. Okay, that's good. You guys over there, you continue to do that. And I think I'll just stay here.
I appreciate that. So, yeah, I was reading an article about the infiltration of AI into pop music, and here's a number that scared me: was that iHeartRadio forces the whoever's submitting to identify if it's AI, and they have their own ways of double checking it, and they turn down almost everything that's AI. At least if it's 100% AI, and they're getting 50,000 submissions daily of
Yeah.
AI slop.
Yeah,
And-
it's up. It's up now. It's up now.
Is it
Yeah, and in fact, despite what iHeart and some of the other streaming sites say, fully 40% of everything that is streaming is AI.
And
So if you and it just gets more and more advanced every day. I mean, you listen to some of these AI vocal things, and it's pretty frightening,
Well,
And
Well, what I was going to say to your point, and it was in the article as well, was that the guy who wrote it says a lot of this stuff is really good, but none of it is great. And I thought that was really kind of an interesting observation. That if and he said it was good enough. If you're just driving down the street, or if you're just working at your desk and you want something in the background, this music is good enough. But it's not and never will be great, which I thought was kind of interesting. So I've as a composer and as a musician, I get stuff, emails, spam sent to me all the time. Buy this program, buy that program. blah, 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 blah. And I'm kind of amazed at that they are able to now duplicate the human voice pretty well. So if I write a music for choir, I can have a choir sing it back to me. I don't have to go and hustle up 16 people to make it work. So that I find that to be interesting. But other than that, I think it's a lazy person's way of creating art mostly. And so,
Yeah.
now, do you see, Klaus? There was a big thing in the news recently. Like somebody did a full-length feature that was all AI. A couple of guys, they created it for about $5,000, an action movie.
No,
And-
$500,000.
Was it $500,000?
The one I saw was
Klaus,
they
the
created
ones,
for
the ones that just came out, that just showed at Tribeca was $20,000.
Wow.
well, the other one I saw was like for $500,000, and 400 of it was spent on the AI.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
100 for a little that. Yeah, I mean, look, it's the same way with music. It has a feel and it has a thing. And, if it can be properly used as a tool, I mean, look, people are going to use it, unfortunately,
Yeah.
because it's just cheaper and you can let your imagination run amok. And so you still have to deal with imagination and that kind of stuff. But it's very scary in terms of the overall business here in California,
Well, I
And-
was just wondering about your personal work, and if it allowed you to do some things that maybe you couldn't do otherwise.
Right, and what we do is mostly, for the most part, just real life stuff, with actors
Right.
on locations, very practical, very analog. Occasionally we need a little thing. In the Pure Zebra one, there's a little thing with the zebra that we had, but that's visual effects. And that's been a part of film forever.
Sure.
But it's not where you just go in there and you just generate a whole, AI thing.
Not gonna
And
do
the
the whole-
scariest thing, though, to me is the replacement of actors.
Right.
Where you can just, do that. And it's getting so sophisticated that you're going to have these very, very strange movies coming.
I agree. So what's new? What's on the horizon? You said you have a feature.
Two things. Peter and I are putting out an album, Peter's Music,
Okay.
called Excursions. We hope to have it out, say, around October or something. And we're doing a feature film called The Unproduced. And hopefully that's going to be, we're shooting it, in July, August. And hopefully that'll be out sometime next week. You never know, not next week, next year. You never know how these things run. You got to
Right.
edit it, see what you got, see what festivals you can get in. But those are the two things on the horizon.
Well, that sounds exciting.
Other than Pure Zebra, which is just a music video of one of Peter's, music pieces.
Well, when your film is done, I hope you'll consider coming back on the show.
Sure.
And talking to me, because I would love to have you on. But in the meantime, believe it or not, we're about out of time. So
Ooh.
it's scary, isn't it?
Yes. in these things and life in general, when you blink and a week is gone, it's very daunting.
Oh yeah. So, but gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate this. There will be, Peter, there will be a link to your website in the descriptions so that people can go and check out your guys' work.
That'll be great. And the website has all my social media information.
That'll be perfect.
And they can see what we do.
Great. In the meantime, thanks. And
Keep on
I'll talk to
playing.
you
Thanks,
soon.
Roger.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'd like to thank Peter Manning Robinson and Klaus Hoch for taking the time to come on the show. If you would like to know more about them or see their videos, you can find a link to Peter's website in the descriptions below. I'd like to thank you too for taking the time to listen. If you enjoy these podcasts, please share your favorite episodes with your friends and introduce them to Creative Conversations with Roger Humphrey.